Right. I'm going to play the countdown and then I will introduce our guest. All right. So I'm going to see if I can actually make this screen bigger. Look at there. Oh, it's too big though. You won't be able to see us both. We'll go back to small. We were big, weren't we?
Yeah,
So let me just take a moment. Again, my name is Tina Durbin. I'm the host of Love Over Coffee Voices Not Heard. This is a platform and a podcast for the marginalized, the silenced, and the abused. And I honestly do believe that a lot of lived experiences can be shared over a good cup of coffee. And Lord knows Carol and I have done that many times, but not recently enough.
exactly.
We'll say that out loud, Carol. I'm going to admit
Uh,
to the fault of sometimes we live too far away.
I know.
So this is Carol Blackford. I will tell you that I've known her for a while. I've known her through thick and thin, up and down, in and out, over and under, a few relationships. One in particular where we met was we kept each other and both got rid of the guy. So we
Enough.
have
Enough.
endured the same abuser. For me, it was a baby narc, um, is what I call the narcs that led up to the daddy of all narcs. But I met Carol. My goodness, Carol, it had to be like 2012, something like that. Um, but I met a guy on a dating app. She already knew the guy. He was doing what the ex was doing to me, the future faking, I love you, you're everything I need and want, but let me go cheat with a million other people. And I was one that he cheated with. So I am here to help Carol tell her story because not only did she and I endure that together, but my goodness, Carol, the last few years have been an up down roller coaster. So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everyone. Tell us who you are, tell us where you've been, and tell us where you're going. And that might include where you are right now. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. My name is Carol Blackford. I come from a long list of abused relationships. Um, I also, let's start way back before that. I was a preacher's kid brought up in United Pentecostal atmosphere. And even through my childhood, um, I encountered some trauma experiences. Uh, but also, I'm trying to think how to say this. Like in the middle of it, like when I got a little bit older, I did experience the Pentecostal aspect, the spiritual, I felt God and He was with me. And then I abandoned Him and decided to go shopping elsewhere, I guess you could say, for happiness. And I guess to see really what was out there so I could fit in because I was made fun of because I had long hair, I had wore skirts, dresses, whatever, and you know, whatever.
So for a
But
while,
I
the
did.
church, so I was going to say, so for a while, the church fulfilled its need, the social and the acceptance aspect, but at some point it didn't.
Um, well, I think it was more of a. I know it was. It was more of a personal issue that I had going on where I had the sexual how do you say it? My mind
Molestation.
just went blank. That's
That's
the
okay.
word. Yeah. as a child, from a family member, I think that really started asking the questions and putting the doubt in my head
Mm.
of and making my spiritual relationship go the other direction. And then I started craving attention, like from just wanting to be fit in with with kids at school or what have you, because where I was, there wasn't very many people that I could socialize with. So, but that's kind of where I came from. Um, I did have a good experience, a spiritual experience that later I remembered, and I'll get to that later.
Okay.
Let's see. I have had, like you said, we've had a roller coaster and a half last little bit. I entailed my last marriage relationship. I was told that I had known him for like 47 years, basically all my, childhood life. And I, I mean, we had a relationship, a friend relationship all throughout. Um, and then we started talking and everything, and ended up, he painting this really nice picture of, him being everything that checking the box. He's a
Oh
pastor,
yeah.
he's a prophet, he can sing. He was a country singer before he was in church and opened
Uh,
for Blake Shelton, just all the little boxes. So, but
and
where I am now, wait, back it up, because that it was narcissistic abuse, and I talked to a very good friend of mine who helped me realize what was going on, because I had no clue. I was just like, what? It was like I was hit with a nuclear bomb or something. I mean, it was just like I can't even fathom, how did I make this mistake again? So after that, my brain went into a protective mode. Like my brain just shut down. I couldn't tell you three numbers. I couldn't tell you five words. I couldn't tell you where I was. I couldn't safely cross the street. I could definitely not make a sentence complete. Um, and then on top of that, I had COVID. I had a concussion. I went through a major medication withdrawal due to COVID, not being able to get the medication to the pharmacy or however it was, doctor, whatever. But I went 3 months without that one medication, and it really messed with my mind. I was at my breaking point. Like, I mean, I was so scared. I've never been that scared before. I remember being so scared, and I had to have a caregiver. Like,
right.
she, and I talked to her later, because this is 2 years that I have hit and miss memory of. And she's like, you just laid in your bed and cried in a ball like a lot of the time,
And
because I
Carol,
was
I
either in
remember
pain.
as we were communicating, I would get these messages, and Carol and I had always kept in touch with each other through Facebook, and we'd even seen each other here and there. But I would get these
Hmm.
messages and I could barely read because the words were all messed up, all jumbled up. I was like, Carol, what is going on? And she's trying to tell me that there's something going on with her brain. They thought a stroke, they thought an aneurysm, they thought a tumor, they thought all kinds of things. And then all of a sudden she tells me, I have a caregiver, and I'm like, what? You know,
Why? Yeah. Yeah.
why are we going down? We should be going back up. Why are we going down?
Right. And I ended up counting, um, of course, Karen. I call Karen my angel, because you sent me to her. I call you my angel. Also, you all are God sent, because she's a life coach, um, Karen Smith, and I had a couple of sessions with her. I think we met on Clubhouse, or I'm not even
On,
for sure how.
on
Was
Clubhouse, I
it?
believe. On Clubhouse, yeah.
Okay. And I heard her speaking, and you might have introduced me or whatever. I don't, like I said, I can't recall all details, but I do remember what she said to me and how that triggered that spiritual spark in me to know, to have enough sense to know that the I'm not putting doctors down or anything because the Lord knows they did their best to try to figure out, and it was just domestic violence and the way that it does your brain, and it didn't connect with them. Even my neurologist it didn't connect with. And he admitted later that he did not read the report because I had to
Mm,
have that 4 hour test. And I've got the report somewhere. I should have been given over to the state, whatever that's called, because I was my mind was that bad. Like
one of the
I don't even
things
know.
that Karen talks a lot about, and she'll be on the show at some point, is domestic violence victims endure stress. And we
Hmm.
all know post traumatic stress disorder is usually based on perhaps one event of trauma.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
perhaps you were SA'd, or perhaps you were a witness to some crime or something like that. And that's a lot of
Hmm.
trauma for your brain to take hold of and to know what to
Hmm.
do with it. So when you are in a domestic violence situation, which Carol has been, admittedly, in several, narcissistic as
Hmm.
well as physical
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
sexual. And what has happened is over time, there's something called complex PTSD. And complex PTSD actually changes the brain chemistry and the brain's inner workings. And you stay in fight or flight mode, which is the survival mode. And when you
Right.
stay in that mode, your cortisol stays high, your adrenaline stays high, and a lot of medications try to counteract, but they don't really. And there can be some adverse effects. And so, as Carol was living life, all of a sudden, the complex PTSD really started to be triggered, especially in the last relationship. So I mean, I'm not a doctor,
Yeah. I,
but I
I
think
know. But
that relationship triggered and basically flooded the brain with the trauma of 47 years, whatever.
yeah. What?
And
Yeah. Yeah. A long
coming
time
back
since
from that
18.
was
Yeah.
hard.
Right, right. And I didn't know, like I had no clue that's what was going on until I spoke with my angel king and got a few sessions in, and it just everything started to take place. It's like, like I said, I added, I knew I needed to have self care. I knew that was huge. I knew, it was like I had the list in my brain, but it was like I couldn't connect the dots to get it going. And it was like, I know I got to self heal. Well, I got to forgive. I got to have acceptance of all this. And I started with forgiveness. I forgave myself for all those years. I forgave the person that didn't say, I'm
Amen.
sorry for hurting you. I started there, and then I did the acceptance. I was like, okay, I accept this. It is not who I am, nor will I be again. And I'm gonna get through this. And I somehow found the strength. And then I started meditating. I started reading God's word. I started singing because I remembered that's one of the things, that really lifts me up is spiritual songs. So, I started just every day. And then the most important thing I guess I could say is when a negative thought or trigger or whatever from the past came back up, I stopped everything I was doing and dealt with it right then and there until I had it figured, I had it stopped. I was like,
That's
and I
powerful.
don't care. Yeah, I don't care how many times those negative flood. Some days they flood. Some days it's just that's all it is a fight. It's a fight to keep a positive thought all day. Then there's some days that, you know, it's easy. But
Well,
I
and
do not let that negative thought come in though.
that's the you said a lot. You said a lot of really powerful stuff because number one, self love and self care is taking time to figure out how to even do it. And it can be as
Hmm.
simple as a bath in the dark, lighting a candle, taking a moment to breathe, whatever. For me, it's coffee.
Yeah,
Everybody knows.
right,
But
right.
also, Carol, what you said was really powerful because, a lot of people, especially people who come from a church background, good or bad,
Hmm.
right or wrong, real or imagined. I don't know where anybody is in their journey to God, from God, away from God, whatever.
Right, right.
But we talk a lot about forgiveness, and a lot of it is directed toward forgiving the abuser.
Yeah,
And Carol,
that.
you and I both know I ain't there because
Mm-mm.
I don't need to. What he's endured is between him and his God. And if he ain't got one, that's
Right,
his problem. But my
right.
God tells me I need to forgive myself because I tell you what, I beat myself up
Oh yeah,
more mentally and emotionally more than he could have ever beat me up physically. And he
yeah.
didn't beat
Oh
me up
yeah.
physically. But in my mind, forgiving him's just not in my thought process. But forgiving myself is a work in progress still every day. And you said it,
Right. It
every
is. It
day,
is.
intentional every day. How
Yes.
do you do that now?
How do I forgive him or how do I forgive myself or both?
How did you forgive yourself and how do you do it daily now?
Because that I seem to think it's the adversary coming in and bringing those negative thoughts of the guilt. Well, you wasn't smart enough to just walk out, or and I mean that sentence don't even get full sentence now. I immediately stop it and I'm like, oh, but you know what? You might be right, but now it ain't like that. It ain't
Right.
going to be like that. I now know I have knowledge of what happened to me and the red flags I will listen to. It's like it's a learning, process. Is just forgiveness is huge, and when that negative thought comes in, you've got to stop it immediately and
Mm-hmm.
just I forgave and remind yourself I forgave myself. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. I messed up, but not no more. Today's a new day. This moment's
Right.
new. I'm going forward. So
Today's not the
that
day
helps.
I'm going to wallow.
Dwell on
I'll
it.
be honest.
Yes.
I had that day Sunday. Um,
Mm,
got triggered by something, and it can be the smallest of things. And
yeah.
buddy, if you are not careful, that can just spiral, 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 spiral down. And
Right.
when I got on air Sunday, I thought everybody's going to see these puffy red eyes because Lord, I've been crying all day.
Well.
And it was just one of those moments. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine
Hmm.
who's been through what I've been through, and it immediately like, whew, okay, we're back. like
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it matters how many years you've been on your journey of healing that a trigger comes along, it's gonna click you back, but it's how you handle that trigger from that moment. Do you let it dwell inside you and bubble up and let all the negative keep coming and coming and coming, or do you stop it and say, "Hey, wait, mm-mm. It's okay to cry. It's very good for you to, it cleanses you. It helps. I'm not saying don't cry, suck it up and whatever. No, I'm saying deal with your feelings as you feel them, you know?
And do you sometimes almost like you have spiraled, and then you have to almost like trace back to what it was like why am I so far down this path? Like, how did I get
Hmm.
all the way over here behind this fence when I don't even know how I drove to the road? And so you have to sort of go backwards in time. And it's like
Yeah.
you can start to see the patterns, but it takes, especially when your brain has been impacted
Oh,
by
yeah.
abuse, mental, emotional,
Right.
social, intellectual. It all matters, and it all has its
Hmm.
toll. And until you can trace it back, you almost sometimes don't know how you ended up over there.
Right. Now, I remember years ago, I was with a therapist, and he gave me the most helpful advice, or, yeah, helpful advice that I've heard. He told me to take my issues and put them in a box, put that box up on a shelf. So, yeah, I might have a billion boxes that I have to go through, but I take one down at a time
Mm,
until I have, accomplished acceptance, forgiveness, whatever I got to do to get that box to go to recycle bin, you
girl,
know.
you are dropping
So
some
that,
nuggets tonight. You are dropping some
hey,
major coffee beans tonight, because that's another thing. Trying to, oh my gosh, the overwhelming feeling
yeah,
of being overwhelmed. It's like, where do I even begin?
yeah,
So that's powerful. Put them in a box and take them down one at a time. I need to write that down
yeah,
because, um,
yeah, it helped. I remember it's like I don't know. Maybe I just didn't use it until I was supposed to. But I remembered that like recently, and he told me that years ago, and I'm like, okay, I got this. We can do this.
something that got
But
me through was sometimes I would say, because our brain believes what we tell it. So we have
right,
to be careful of our language. And, number one,
huge.
I used to say, my guy, my abuser, my this, my that. And I
Hmm.
stopped saying my because I don't want to own it. What
Exactly.
what
Yeah,
is
that's good.
theirs is what's theirs, and what's mine is what's
Yeah,
mine. But the other thing is, I
right.
realized I kept saying to myself, man, I've had a really hard day, a really bad day. And then I realized that sometimes it was maybe just a bad few hours,
Hmm.
or maybe a
Yeah,
bad 15 minutes. And it's like, why am I
right.
throwing away all the blessings of a halfway good day when I really only had maybe a bad half hour where I cried and needed to regroup, got it back together, and went on. But
Hmm.
again, it's that spiral. You start out thinking, well, today just sucks. And then it just sucks even more. And then it just really sucks. You're just
Right. It does spiral. But I come to realize that too. It kind of hit me that I really believe that when you speak positive, especially into existence, it somehow comes all together. Like, okay, so say I had bad 2 hours of starting my day, and I'm like, oh, this is just gonna be a great day. Everything's just good. Well, if I don't stop that negativity and say, okay, I accept the 2 hours were horrible, but I can start fresh at any time, not just the beginning of a day, beginning of a week. I can start this moment and
true.
you know just deal with it and go on and make it speak into existence is going to be a great day, so
Well, that's like
that's
when
what I'd
people
have
always
to do.
say, I'm going to start the diet on Monday, or I'm going to wait till Friday. And, my mom used to always say, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Why do you need to wait till Monday?
Yeah, that's huge.
It's like, so I
Yeah.
can screw up the rest of this week before. I she's
Yeah,
like,
I get to eat all
why
the
not this
cookies
weekend?
and Yeah, I'm working on that too. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
hard one for me. Yeah, but
And what does the phrase like healing journey mean to you?
to me, um, to me it means a lot of thinking, a lot of prioritizing self, a lot of why did I do that? Analyze, like why was I that way? What was going on? What was I craving? What was I needing and wanting? And then learning all that about myself, I was like, well, I felt that before.
Hmm.
So I took it and I made my walk not only self caring, self healing, but also spiritual. And I mean, everybody has their own, and I'm not putting anyone down or anything. I'm just saying what works for me.
I call it the
And
God
I
of your
can,
understanding because
yeah,
it's a
because
relationship like any other, you know.
yeah, this is the most powerful experience spiritually that I've ever got to encounter, and he is just I and see, I had that negative thought. Well, if you would only done this, this, and this, then you would be where you were 10 years ago now, and I'm like, no, wait, it's okay. I went through what I went through, maybe to help someone else get over and get through what they're going through today. It's okay. So I have to stop and put,
That's like
positivity back in there.
when I think about, I dated a lot of jerks, and I ended those relationships because they weren't fun or they weren't this or they weren't that, and
Yeah.
and I call them the baby narcs because
Mm.
all of them taught me what I didn't want. They all taught me what I didn't need. But then I have to remember that I then met the daddy of all narcs, in my opinion.
Right. You
And
did. You did.
by that time, I was overshared. Like I almost knew too much about who I was, who I am, who I wanted to be, where I was going, and I shared it all. And
Yeah. Yeah.
oversharing is a narc's dream because when you overshare,
Absolutely. I
they are hanging on every syllable of every word and they are taking notes in their brain. And I tell you what, something you told them on March 1st will come back to haunt your ass on October 1st. you're,
That's
you're,
the truth. They're like, how in the world do you even remember? Like, wow.
they talk
Wow.
about
Yeah,
it in their
that's so true. Yeah. Yeah, it's oh, some of the things that you walked through, I was like, how do you even wait, what? It's crazy. But I do want to give hope to the women that this oh, the one story I'd like to sum up quickly, try to. It was a really long experience. But anyway, I think it was psychological abuse because he took material things of my childhood and broke them, shattered them, threw them in the garbage. Like I had to obey every command that he gave out, whether it be sexual, whether it be cooking, whether it be cleaning, whether it be whatever he wanted, when he wanted it, how he wanted it. I could only wear white, rules like that. I couldn't go out of my house. I was padlocked from the outside in. I couldn't raise no windows. I couldn't go out unless he was with me. And, that it wasn't as much physical to the very end, but it was more psychotic. Like, I had
right.
braces and I couldn't go. The orthodontist was a male. So I had specific instructions on how to handle myself in the office. And it didn't go that way because the doctor was just like patting my knee and said, "Hey, we're gonna get you through this. It's gonna be okay." Well, he went ballistically off in the office, drove me out, and took me down the interstate. Cars, I don't think it was that traffic or what, but anyway, he just pushed on the brake right in the middle of the interstate, like, and it was just, I mean, it's just all kinds of crazy things like that. He'd throw down pennies and make me pick them up and count them as I put them back. And then I get like, excuse me, halfway through, and then you do it again. It's just crazy
See,
stuff.
I've never understood that level. I mean, and this is of course not to excuse, as you said, it's to analyze. Do you know anything about his background, your first husband, or your first?
um,
What was
well,
his?
he had, I think it was, he saw his mom be abused. I believe that's what it was. And I mean, the flags were there, the way he treated his granny, the way he talked to his granny, which was the one that raised him.
Mm,
So I don't know. And then it was like he guilted me, and he knew I had a big heart and guilted me into marrying him because I was like 18, he was 16. And he's like, if you don't love me, then they're going to put me away for a long time. And okay, come on. I mean, very gullible, but
right.
that that was really, and then talking about it, and all these memories are flooding back. Like we had a hamsters as pet, and he took them and put them in a sock and twirled them around. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is like at first. I mean, we were already married, but this was like at the first of it all. And I'm like, I let him go. I was like, I let the little
Well,
things run
also,
wild. So good luck, you know.
but also, I can remember my first husband wasn't, he wasn't all that in a bag of chips, but I can remember something that he did that wasn't at all directed at me. Okay.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
was mad about something. He took the arm of the couch and he just lifted it up and broke it in his hand.
Oh wow.
And, you know, I knew that I wasn't the arm of the couch, but, some of those things, Carol, I think paint a picture that you can't even articulate it yet. And
Right.
you're seeing something, and your brain is making a connection, your body is reacting even though you
Hmm.
have no words for it. And so, I look back and I think about that moment, and from that moment forward I kept thinking, what if that were my head? Like, what if that anger was directed toward me? It never was,
Right.
but still it rests in your brain, and those are
Hmm.
the little things that stick with you for a while.
Right.
You don't
Yeah,
even,
they do. Mm-mm.
so you will
But
see it a lot.
that's you get a lot of people, or I've had a lot of people when I've shared my story to, well, not a lot. Let me rephrase that. Very few people have I told that story to, except for tonight. But I get the answer. Well, I would have just left. I wouldn't have, and I'm like, hold up. When they threaten your life, when they threaten your family, when they threaten to kill, to destroy, all that, that does something to your brain immediately going, oh, I can't have that. You're not going to kill my mom or my daddy, the people I love. And the way that he did the things that I loved put no doubt in my mind that he would do that to me, that
Right,
he would. And
right.
it's like, come on, where's your compassion? I'm very glad you didn't have to go through anything like, but if someone's telling their story, that happened. That's the way they see. And yeah, there's two sides to every story, but where's the compassion? I feel like we've lost compassion for others, and that we
Well, that's why I've
really,
been lately on my
yeah,
posts, like, if you know, you know, and if you don't, be grateful that you don't know. But just because you don't know and you're grateful for not knowing doesn't mean that I don't know. and that people that come
Right.
on my post don't know, and having to experience something very different than what you have experienced. And I'm grateful
Right.
you haven't been down the road, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I wasn't.
Right. Right. Now, I got out only because my husband at the time went up the road, left the doors open. My mom just so happened to go into the driveway and I saw, so I let her in and she said, I've got a message from God for you. It's like, okay. She said, Pastor Killingsworth told me that God told him if I don't get you out of here today, that he's gonna kill you. And I was like, oh, well, that just clicked because he just made this a weapon out of an axe handle, a circular saw blade, and a bolt together. And he has used it, on my back and destroying more stuff. And okay, I'll go, So they did. She got me out. He was still up the street and didn't see us leave, but I gathered very little, few sentimental things I had left and I was gone.
Right.
But I wouldn't even advise that now. If you're in a situation and you got a chance and you trust that person, get out. Don't worry about stuff, material things. You know, you can always replace those.
Well, and the other thing is, only because last year was the first year that Carol shared her story so publicly, and I'm still honored and humbled, of course, to know you and to know that you shared your story here first. And I think sometimes, and I was just telling a friend tonight, until you start to share, and I know not everyone is there, but until you can
Right.
actually hear yourself say some of the things that you don't want to hear yourself say, because that prevents you from really knowing them. But until you
Hmm.
really say it out loud and really know what you know, um, it's easy to avoid, deny, and stay. And I want to be careful because there is a very fine line between
Yeah.
why did you stay and why didn't you go and all of that kind of stuff, to accountability as to why you stayed and why you didn't go. And a lot of it goes back to, which is the inner child. At some point, the inner
Mm-hmm.
child endured trauma, and you actually have to go back in time
Heal.
and forgive that inner
Yes.
child for having been a
Hmm.
survivor of childhood trauma. And you got to take her by the hand, and pull her forward and let her know
Right.
that while she protected you by people pleasing and by shutting down, or whatever, that you're now going to
Hmm.
protect her by setting boundaries and
Right.
self-respect. And that's a hard switch, because sometimes we're
It
mad at
is.
the child that survived, because that
Mm-hmm.
child's survival brought all that trauma forward, which is how we connected with other people. But the trauma of that young child is what has to be forgiven, so you can pull her forward and protect her in a different way. and um
Hmm.
and that work is hard. um
It's very hard. Maybe she's the first that you should put in your box on the shelf, because I didn't do that until I heard you say something about dealing with my inner child, and I was like, oh, okay. So I did do that, and that like you, oh man, that's huge. Yeah, that
shameless
dealing with
plug
your inner child is,
shameless
yeah.
plug This month's box, which is not gone out yet because I'm still waiting on the boxes for the boxes, because my supplier changed. But
Oh,
this month, oh, this month's box
look
is
familiar?
about healing
Yeah.
the inner child. And
Ooh.
so, for those of you that are unaware, I have a subscription box called Love Over Coffee, and it is reclaiming self, and it is self love and self care, um, rituals and practices and knowledge and information to help you, basically heal trauma so that you can meet
Hmm.
the world from a healthier place, because sometimes when you meet the world from your own trauma place, you meet other trauma that can then manipulate and trigger your own trauma, and you'll find yourself going down some
So
roads that
true.
are not healthy. Carol is a subscriber. Thank you. Um,
Yes, I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. Can't wait.
and the cup she's holding is from the first box. I designed that little image and then had it put on a cup, and that's in the subscription box. So if you want any shameless plug, if you want any information, there's a pin on my post on TikTok, and this month's box has not gone out. Um, but Sweet Corner Girl, which is Miss Gina from last night and the night before, thank you for coming on. Um, the stars are when you back up your Facebook with basically a bank account. So don't worry about it, because basically stars are the book's way of paying a creator, whereas on TikTok it's gifts and likes. Um, so don't worry about it. That's what you're reading though. So what's next for you, Carol? Because I know she just did something good for me. I was sick on
Oh my goodness.
and she read my poem for me at the NAMI walk, which is the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. So I wrote a spoken word piece and she read it for me because I was unable to go because my nose was dripping like water. And so tell us what's next for you, because you've dropped a lot of nuggets tonight, girl.
Yeah. I to be as close in a spiritual walk and remember where I come from and to help others. I feel that actually, I was told by a prophet that I'm not where I'm supposed to be living, like as in physically. And he was like, you know where that is? And I'm like, yeah. And he said, you know what you're called to do? And I'm like, yeah. So I feel right now it is to go back to Middletown, Ohio, and to engage in the church there. They have a homeless program, in which hopefully that'll open doors for addiction services as well, and domestic violence, mental health, the whole, because it all goes together. It really does, you know. So that's where I
Right.
feel like I'm being led
Hmm.
to
So
and
so now are you? I know that you have been taking turns living at your children's homes and things like that. And that's good because you
yeah,
love your grandkids.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Now, will you take your dog with you? The one that's in the picture that was the promo for tonight?
He is always with me. He's kind of upset he's not in my lap, but I think
Oh,
he's okay. But yeah, he'll be going with me. Yeah.
okay.
Now I've got to go to my mom's for a little while she gets stents and stuff put in, but he won't be able to go because the landlord there doesn't allow animals, which he is a ESA and he is a service dog in training, but we don't want to push the
Right,
issue. He says no dogs, okay. That's fine.
right.
But yeah. So but he's in good hands here, so
So, one other question I
anyway,
have
but when I actually move, he will go with me. Sorry. Yes.
no, 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 that's okay. I was just going to say, one of the things that I want to focus on this month is, many of us, if we have not experienced what you and I have endured, um, when you look back, um, what do you wish that people had said that would have actually, because sometimes I feel like abuse victims become defensive. So when the person says, he's a jerk and he's this and he's that, and you need to, da, 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 and they want to tell you what to do, my first, and
Hmm.
I'm a stubborn individual, so I can speak it. I can speak it clearly. It makes
Right.
me dig in my heels even more. Like I am going to
I'm
show
gonna
you
show you.
work. And of
Yep.
course, it's like when I got married, everyone said, even the priest said, um, this isn't going to work. And I kept saying, well, I'll show you. But
Hmm.
you look back, that defensiveness, of course, serves the abuser. But what do
Hmm.
you wish that people had said or done differently that could have actually encouraged you to do something differently without, why did you stay and why did you leave?
I wish
Much, guys,
I had.
for the gift and the. We achieved our goal on TikTok. I don't know what that means, but okay, let's see. It says
Yay! Yay!
we achieved our goal, some sort of golden trumpet or something.
All right. That sounds like a good thing.
It is a good thing.
I I wish. I try not to dwell on that though. You know what I'm saying? I try
No.
not to go like back in time and what if, because that'd drive me crazy. But to answer your question, I wish I had my two God sent angels. I wish I had a Tina and I wish I had a Miss Karen because you two totally changed like everything. And I wish I had you all back when I first, when it first happened, then I would understand. Like the knowledge just wasn't there with me. It just didn't click. I just didn't know. It's just, I was so, I don't know, just not there. But you all come in with knowledge and it's like, hey, this happened to me, and it was compassion. And it just, it let me be the guide of my life and what I needed and what I wanted, you know.
Well, I
And
know,
I'll be
I know.
forever appreciative for you all.
No, no, no. Because I think
Yeah.
if nothing else, some of us have gone through something so we can share it with another, and hopefully sharing it with
Well,
another. Like I said, if one person out there is listening and goes, "Holy crap, this is what I'm living. Oh my God, I've got to get out," then it's been for everything.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
and
know.
I know that, but I'm just very appreciative because to me that was my life changing moments is when you and Karen were both, just right there. You wasn't, you should do this, you should that. No, you was like, well, have you looked at it this way? Is this, and then that's when a light bulb came on and I was like, oh, wait, yeah, this is happening, because I'm like you too. When I think you said something like that. If well, sorry, the last marriage I was in treated his son so horrible, so horrible, but yet he spoke of his son as if he, he had everlasting love for him and just put him up on a pedestal. And I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. If he is talking about his child and screaming and yelling and doing the things that he's doing to this kid, how
Mhm.
is he going to treat me? That was like my big aha red flag moment. And that's when
That's
I
one of
broke
the
down to
things.
you.
Talking about children, I think about, Gina's situation, and people will say,
Mm,
but he's such a good dad. And it's like, no, you're not a good dad if you're not a good husband, or you're not a good
right.
son, or you're not a good friend or a good coworker. It's like, I don't know how you compartmentalize that, but it's like if you're a jerk at work, chances are you're a jerk at home and you're a jerk with your
That's
kids.
true.
Like, people will
Yeah.
say, well, he abuses his wife, but he's such a good dad. It's like, no, those don't go together.
No, they don't. And I'll say, I was like, I did want to share this, and it's leaving me. No, um, if let's see, it was right on the lines of what we were saying. See, I still have those brain moments.
We have a
um,
go ahead and finish your thought, and then we have a
okay,
question.
okay,
Uh,
but it's oh, the guilt of kids, like the mom. If it's the mom that's the one that's being abused, I felt like I had to stay in situations because of my children needed a dad, and all those type of things. And and later on, looking back, I'm like, well, I probably should, and I try not to do it. But I was like, well, I probably should have just left because you know what they saw rent them more
mhm.
than what they would have went. It's like
Right.
don't hold on just because of the kids. Like
My mom always said it was
I
better to come
wish.
from a broken home than live in one.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Um,
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. What's our
so
question?
here's the question. The question is, do you ladies find you hold on to something physical that you just can't let go of because of fear? For example, my aunt refused to cut her hair because he hated women with short hair. So, is there something that has become a part of you that you now either don't even realize or it's a conscious thought?
I think I went to more of the because he said I couldn't wear white, I wear white. Because, then he said I couldn't. I mean, and that's exactly where
That's
I
my
went to. But it's
that's
like
my girl.
he didn't want me dating out of my race. Well, I dated out of my race. I mean, yeah. So, but as of today, I'm going to say no. When I forgave 100% of him. Like you know, I have nothing hard, harsh, whatever. I took it and I say that every abuse situation that I endured has taught me and brought me to where I am today. And I do not regret
Yeah,
1 second of it all. Because it's
yeah.
like, I have strength. I have joy. I have peace. I have so much now. It's almost like thank you, but not. But
Well, Carol,
so
I mean, and I will share my own story on October 11th. But, you know,
okay.
when I look back, I realized that,
Sir. Shh.
for all the things I bought for him to get going,
Oh, yeah. I
thousands
should
and
have
thousands and
said,
thousands of dollars. And here I am doing a podcast, holding my phone, looking at
yeah,
TikTok on a borrowed laptop. And before this, I was using Zoom and
yeah.
basically, holding my phone up. I mean, like I said, here he is trying to do all these things with all this equipment that I spent money for. And here I am doing a podcast for 3 years, basically via my phone and a borrowed laptop. And it's like, buddy, you need to get over yourself.
Right. And it's like we don't even think about it. And the one thing that I feel like I can hold on to through all this. And I did have guilt of not saying, "Hey, Tina, wake up. Hey, there's something." I do have that guilt,
I
but
know.
now I know that I'm not crazy. That this is reality for some, and it's okay for me to say, "Hey, Tina, girl, wake up." In a loving way. Just I learned that from all of
But
this. That you have to speak up.
as much as I may have helped you, your presence also helped me because, you know, when you're
Hey,
faced
it's
with the
okay.
reality when you're faced with reality in a conversation that's hard to have, hard to hear, it's like
Right.
little light bulbs go off. And like you said, you remember something that someone said. That's what I was going to say. One of the things that I think,
You got four more.
hello,
Sorry.
I need
Oh,
that.
wait. Still guys. Stay
Oh
away.
my goodness. Is that
They so little.
a
Look. Sorry.
kitty cat?
I
Kitty
did
cat.
that a lot
Um,
lately. Okay, just put them on the bed.
I was just gonna say quickly, one of the things that I wished that people had said or done, or I want to encourage people who know someone who's in an abusive situation and it's like they can see it, but they haven't seen their way out of it yet. Instead of
Mhm.
spending all of your time saying, you need to do this and you need to do that, it's like, how are you putting yourself first? What would you tell a friend? But the other thing is
Right.
also to remind them, I remember when we used to drive around and just giggle and laugh, and then it's like, oh, but we can't do that anymore. And it's like,
Oh yeah. Plant the seed. Let
them,
them start thinking. Yeah.
it's like, why
Yes,
can't
that's
you do
good.
that? you know well,
Yeah.
someone would be angry because remember the last time you were late, they got really mad and they were standing outside, and I mean, it gives you a chance to like say it in a different way
Yeah.
without
But
the
yeah.
judgment part of it.
Gentle, being gentle, because they've
Right.
had enough trauma, and I feel like that's huge. I think you and Karen were gentle with me, and that gives me inspiration to be gentle to others as well. But I also don't have problems saying, "Girl,
No,
what you
no, me
thinking?"
neither. I had one of those conversations tonight, and they're exhausting. And
Oh
Carol,
man.
Carol, I'm going to share part of your story for you because it was from my
Okay.
perspective. She was married,
Okay.
and she would call me and she'd say, "I'm leaving." Okay. She'd call me about a month later, sometimes a week later. I went back. She'd say, "Guess what?" And I'd say, "You went back." And she said, "Yeah." And I would say,
Oh, I forgot about that one.
and I was
I'm
like,
sorry. Go ahead.
"Okay." And then, about 2 months later, she'd call me and she'd say, "Guess what?" And I'd say, "You left again." "Yes." Call me a month later. "Guess what?" I went back again. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, as much as I wanted to say, "Carol, what the hell are you doing?" It's like I also
Hmm.
knew
You didn't.
Carol had to come to Carol, that Carol had to have her a come
Right.
to Jesus meeting with Carol. I mean,
That's so
and,
true. Yes.
and
Yeah.
she did.
I forgot. I
She
did
did.
do that a lot, though. I did do that with a lot of the relationships. I was like, um, I felt so guilty. Like, was it me? Was I crazy? Did I imagine all this stuff? Did it not really
Right.
happen, or what have you? And it, that's why I kept going back to make sure that I wasn't making a mistake. When I was making a mistake, so it don't make any sense, but in my head it was.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, guilt. That's why I was saying don't do it because of guilt. Then babies will be okay.
there are three things that keep you stuck, and there are three things that narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, abusers use, and that is fear, obligation, and guilt.
Mhm.
They make you feel guilty, they make you feel obligated, and they make you afraid. And those three things can keep you stuck for quite some time. That's basically the fog. Um, and
Mhm.
so I want to say,
Oh,
um, we go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was wanting to say this earlier. There is a cycle of abuse that I noticed that happened to me. It was like the love bombing, let's see, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. It's the love bombing, the guilt trip, the gaslighting, the manipulation, and then it switches to all this anger and hate, and then it's like that's when the abuse just keeps going and going, and then all of a sudden they start feeling kind of, I guess you could say, sort of their level of guilty, and then they're like, oh, well, I better do something or she's going to tell on me or I'm going to get in trouble or whatever. Then they start the love bombing and then it's just the
Mhm.
same vicious cycle. And we cannot fix them. We can try all we want. They know that we have a genuine, big, huge heart. We can't fix them. There's only one person that can fix them, and that's Jesus. He's the only one that can change that situation. So if you're
And
in that situation,
um, Cynthia, who's watching on the book, says you have to be careful what you say to your friend that doesn't want to see reality. Be there for them. Ask them if they need anything. Absolutely, Cynthia,
absolutely
because
yes.
they they can't see what they can't see yet, and they don't want anyone to tell them that they don't see it. Like we said before,
Right.
sometimes when you tell someone he's a jerk, he's this, he's that, and I think he's this and he's that, um, a lot of
You're digging
times
in.
it makes you dig your heels in harder because remember when you were love bombed and everything was awesome, then you told the
Hmm.
world. And you don't want to go back and tell the world that he's a jerk. So then that's when you start protecting and you start saying things like, well, he didn't mean that, or
Not
or
this time. They won't do it again.
he might have meant it, but I'm not going to invite my friends over because I don't know what kind of mood he's going to be in and that kind of thing. And so you start to make excuses, ignore the red flags. You start to, you know, and this is not to say that you are to blame. This is to say
Mhm.
this is how they wear you down. And after a certain amount of time, it's just like it's easier to give in, and it's easier to give up than it is to
Oh,
go. And people don't realize that at some point in time, you will make the switch, if you're meant to
but
make
when
this.
you're ready,
But when you're ready,
when,
some people don't make
yeah,
the switch. And
right. Yeah, if
I
you plant that seed in their head like you was talking about, this is also good, Tina. That's it's huge. It's yeah, it makes a big difference. The way that you say things to them. You gotta remember that they're being just beat down and they don't want to admit or I didn't want to admit that, this was happening to me. Yeah, you're right.
I
I mean, even as petty as that sounds, but still it's like, okay, yeah, no, you don't have no clue. I
yeah,
got to do
yeah,
it on it. Yeah, I did. I had to wait for me to catch up to go. I'm gonna start dealing with those boxes. I'm gonna start, and when you opened it up and planted that seed gentle,
that's
I was like, oh
true.
yeah,
It's true.
you know,
Yeah. Well, I want to say, of course, I love you dearly. I want to say thank you
I love
so much
you.
for coming on, sharing your story. I know that you have endured a life of many things, but you know what? I realize
But
it ain't been all bad because we met each other. And between the two of us,
that's
we have overcome. So,
that's right. We're what'd you say? We're survivors thriving.
survivors,
Yeah, that's us.
and overcomers. So
Yes.
um, Carol Blackford is becoming more and more public, which I just love. Look at
I
that
know
little
he's
wiggle.
mouthy.
That's a
Look at his
wiggle
little
butt.
tail.
That's a wiggle butt.
He's awesome.
All my greyhound snuggle butts, but that's a little wiggle butt.
She is so real. Oh, but
I want
yes,
to
yes.
say, thank you to everyone who's tuned in to Love Over Coffee. As I said on TikTok, this is not my usual way in which you see me. Usually, I'm a junk journaler. I'm doing, shot glasses, putting images on them. I don't want to say I'm doing shot, the tiki talk might be mad, but I make shot glasses. We sometimes play bingo. My TikTok is for peace, love, and joy, and finding self again. And so through the subscription box and through the podcast, through a lot of my community on Clubhouse. I have made my way back. People like Carol in my life have helped me make my way back. But at the same time, um, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in honor
Yes.
of Gabby Petito and so many others, I want to give back. So I am doing 31 nights of podcasts from people who are willing to share their stories. And some of these stories are hard to hear, hard to know, hard to understand, hard to believe, but they are true and they are lived experiences of many survivors. And I really want to um, make you aware of a life maybe that you have not experienced. And as I have said before, if you know, you know, and if you don't, be grateful. But being grateful doesn't mean that it doesn't exist for others and that others have really had to fight and struggle to get back to something that looks normal. And that normal can be a moving target, because what's normal today may not be what's normal tomorrow. Finding that
Mhm.
normal again and finding your voice again can be a long road back. So I really want to make sure that my guests understand we appreciate your vulnerability, your honesty, your sharing. It means a lot to us. And it means a lot to me, of course, that so many of my friends who have shared before are willing to come back, um, to tell an updated version of their story or to tell their story. I do have some open nights. If you're out there and you're listening and you've reached the point of either sharing or you need help, my book is open. My Tina M. Durbin is public. My Real Change business page, REEL Change, is public. And my messages are open on Instagram. My messages are open on TikTok. And reach me somehow. Comment somewhere. I'd like to talk to you, whatever. And I will reach back. So, thank you again for watching. Thank you again for listening. And thank you, Sue. Thank you, Pink. I know you guys have been mainly moderating tonight. Thank you for the pinned comments. Of course, thank you for the love and the likes and the shares. And I appreciate you all. Tomorrow night, our guest is Kathy Yule. She is a survivor of narcissistic abuse. And she is a songwriter in Nashville. And let me tell you, that she uses her music to educate others, and it has been her own healing journey. And she is now a songwriter for a recording house in Nashville. So, baby, she has come a long way, and I know tomorrow she will be on camera with her microphone and her guitar, and she will be ready to share. So,
Awesome.
her name is Kathy Yule, and she is now living in Nashville doing great things and has a nonprofit, and all of that good stuff. So, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, yes, thank you so much, Monica, for posting that. Um, Tomorrow is a test of the National Emergency System.
Mm.
If you have a hidden phone for any reason, especially if you are a domestic violence victim trying to escape, you need to turn the phone off because it will vibrate or it will make a sound. And if someone doesn't know you have that phone, they're going to know tomorrow. And if you open that phone and turn it back on later, you need to be somewhere by yourself with that phone because all those notifications are going to start going off. So tomorrow at 2:20 Eastern Standard Time and all time zones accordingly, it's supposed to go off. But your best case safe scenario is turn the phone off. That way it can't vibrate, can't do anything. Okay. So thank you, Monica, for that reminder. And if anyone from the government is out there listening, October Domestic Violence Awareness Month is not the time to test the emergency system. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, so let's just put that out there. This is
Mm,
not the time to be testing the phone. So
exactly.
it's like, and I'm just going to say, do you know that some patriarchal system with a bunch of in charge decided to do just like
Of course, of course.
I don't want to take away from the fact that, yes, I know that men are abused and all of that good stuff. But at the same time, this is not the time to be testing the system.
I think that should be a night of podcast that all by itself. Just go for it. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Karen says, apologies to you, Carol. She's been on the road and Wi-Fi malfunctioning. And Karen, you need to get your tissues out because she's going
Oh,
to thank you lots and she's going to call you an angel. And so, um,
she is. She is my God sent
so,
angel.
just be ready. But of course, Karen hasn't set her date yet, and we need to do that, Miss.
Oh,
Um, Thank you again, Carol. I'm going to say goodnight on TikTok first. So thank you, everyone, again for the love and the likes and the shares. And we'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for another story. So love over coffee. Voices now heard, as Gina says. And
hmm,
peace, love, and light. And drink some coffee or whatever it is you drink. So have a great night. Thank you. Bye. All right. And
thanks for having me.
oh, Carol, I mean, I love you dearly. So let's see.
I love you too.
We had 137 viewers, 14
Awesome.
shares, um 31 diamonds. We met our goal. I don't see the number of likes because I think sometimes it hides them from me until later. Last night I think we
Hmm.
had almost 8,000 likes. Miss Shirley
Whoa.
did.
Awesome.
We had almost 8,000 likes on TikTok, and likes mean, interest.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we
uh,
had a trumpet, or wasn't it a trumpet tonight on TikTok
yeah,
or
tonight was
something?
a gold. Well, we had
Yeah.
almost 8,000 likes, but we achieved our goal, which was the golden trumpet. And I don't know how much the golden trumpet is,
Yeah.
but, but I'll
That's
look it up. So
awesome, though. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Voices are getting heard. That's
that's right.
awesome.
Shirley, if you want a night to come on, let me know. So, and
I do. I'll talk to you after. I've got someone that wants to
oh, okay.
participate too and tell
And
her
Karen,
story.
be
So,
sure to reach out and let's get some dates. So let me go ahead.
hmm,
Thank you all for watching. We
yes.
really honestly appreciate Miss Pat just joined us. Aunt Pat, we're almost
Aunt
done.
Pat.
Aunt Pat
Yeah.
and Shirley, we're almost done now. Where y'all been?
Oh, that's my prayer warrior sister, Aunt Pat. Hmm. Yep. Love
Well,
her.
Karen, thank you, and Aunt Pat, I'd love to have a date with you as well. So, but I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And I'm going to get ready to share some jewelry. I don't know if I should share it on TikTok or in my Facebook group, but I got some Halloween jewelry from TikTok or from
Uh oh. Wonder. Oh, oh.
These
Look
are not,
at you go.
aren't they
Those are
cute?
cute. Yeah.
I like them.
Wonder has beautiful jewelry. Yeah, they
So
do.
take care,
All right.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Congratulations,
you.
Carol, on your son's wedding. So we'll see everybody soon. Take care, everybody. Good night. Bye. Carol, I'm going
Bye.
to end the stream. Hold on.